Today, we're going to have a look at spiritual awakening and fatigue, and we're going to dive into the 5 reasons why you might always be tired. So if you're interested in this, then by all means, stick around. So I've made a list of the 5 biggest reasons why you might be feeling tired, and before we dive into them, I just want to bring your attention down below to the free breathing practice that's available for you, a free introduction to Hatha Yoga, a free community on Facebook. The links are all down below. But of course, if you're the sort of person that's really ready to take the next step up from DIY, YouTube, awakening, then you're more than welcome to sign up for the Freedom Blueprint down below. That's not free, it's paid. You have to commit and invest in yourself, but there's nothing more worthwhile than doing just that, and that's investing in yourself. It's the best investment you will ever make. Now, we're going to talk about fatigue. The first reason, and this is the biggest one and the most obvious, I would say, at least from my perspective, if it's not in you already, it will be soon. The first reason why you're feeling so much fatigue is you're responding to life with fear. Let's say you go through an awakening experience. It can be frightening, can't it? Because it's so new and everything in you is changing. Lots of differences beginning to become apparent in your life, and in fact the life might feel like it's going down a hill pretty rapidly, and this is perfectly normal. Don't worry too much. This is understood to be what's necessary in this awakening journey, because then we begin to flatline, and when we flatline, we're able to rebuild our life again. It doesn't have to go that way for everybody, but it did for me, because I was not paying attention and I was not living my life in a way that was commensurate with, well, happiness. So you will be responding to things with fear, and so in time what that's going to change to is responding to things with love, really, and hopefully that happens a lot sooner rather than later. But this is also a process, so it does take some work and some discipline to begin transforming the way that we respond to life, and we call this personal responsibility. My ability to respond to life in a way that suits me a little bit better. Remember, it's not what happens that matters, it's how we respond to what happens that matters, at least on the internal manifestation front first, because it feels better, but then because it feels better on the inside and our energies are then more in alignment with that life urge that we have for ourselves, then of course the manifestations will begin to also reflect that good feeling that I'm choosing to respond to life with. The second reason that we might feel a little bit tired on this journey is that we're trying to control life too much. And see, for a long time, at least on the history of this planet, in the very recent history, what humans have been taught that they need to do to gain happiness in this existence is to control life, isn't it? To control my manifestations, to control other people so that they see life the same way and that they're on board with what it is that I want and what it is that I prefer about this life. And that's one way to go, but it's not going to bring you happiness, and it's exhausting. The physical ego is not here as a vehicle to control life. It's here to make the illusion of physical reality seem real. And so, in a way, we can train ourselves to get what it is that we need from life, and pretty much what we want from life, through, in a way, not controlling, but more so aligning up with that primal urge inside of ourselves that in a way will begin the creation process of that which we dream to manifest. And the only way I know how to do that is to really get involved in some sadhana. Sadhana is just your daily spiritual practice, preferably yoga, because I know that it works. It doesn't, that's just my preference. It doesn't have to be yoga, but I'm sure there are other modalities out there that work. I just don't know of any of them because I haven't done them. And I know that yoga works nice and fast. Number 3, new energies can exhaust the body. Now, what do I mean by new energies? Because I don't mean energies from the outside world, I mean new energies in you. If you're having an awakening experience, there will be new Shakti in the system. Shakti just means energy, and that will be pulsing through your beingness. And so that can really exhaust the physical body, and that might end up making the body lose weight. That can happen and has happened to me in the past. I mean, I put it all back on again, don't get me wrong, because I have a very complicated relationship with food, as I'm sure we all probably resonate with that. But new energies can exhaust the physical body, but that's not to say that the new energies are not making the energy body, the pranic body, or what we would call in yoga the prana maya kosha. It's not to say that that's not more alive than ever, because it will be. But it might be a reason why on the physical level we're bloody exhausted. Number 4, and this one is quite a well-known one, and it's called satsang flu. Satsang flu, satsang means to be in communion with truth. And who thought being in communion with truth would give you flu? Well, it doesn't really. But what will happen is the body is purifying itself. As we come into more and more communion with truth, and we live from that truth, then in a way, everything that isn't necessary in that experience of what we're now calling my truth or whatever, or at least universal truth, then the things that aren't representative of that will begin to try and leave the body, which will create a purification process, which will create sickness, mostly. And this don't feel fearful about that, because it's a perfectly fine experience, and actually sometimes I love being sick, but it might mean that you have to spend a little bit more time in bed, perhaps, than you're used to, as the body filters the crap away from you because of all of this new energy coming in. That can happen in the form of diarrhea, which is a real detox. It can also happen in a few various other ways, skin conditions and that, as the body processes the crap, but also then can give you sometimes fever, chills, stuff like this. It's just a processing of impurities, and so therefore quite a healthy experience, but might be why you're a little bit under the weather and tired. Finally then, point number 5, and this is important up to a point. Now, the practices that we give you in the Freedom Blueprint and on my website are really powerful, and so this is not relevant always, this point I'm about to make, because the practices are so powerful that you can probably get away with it. The point is, you might be eating the wrong food energetically for you. There is pranic positive food, pranic neutral food, and pranic negative food. Prana just means energy. So there's food that's good for your energy, food that's not good nor bad for your energy, and that's fine. And then there's food that really is bad for the energy. And if you just take a moment to write a list down of the things that you think might be bad for your energy, you're probably bang on. And the reason is because you can feel it. If you go and eat a takeout meal full of fat and grease and horrible nasties that aren't real food, you feel it, don't you? You have to sleep for 7 hours afterwards, and almost sometimes feels like you've eaten 2 bricks, and it exhausts you. And that reason is because the prana then is not used in the body for what it's meant to be, which is aliveness. It's used for digestion. And in fact, the digestion process can then continue long after the food has left the body too, because then also you've got all of those impurities in the system that the body also needs to digest, which might also cause more satsang flu if we continue to do this throughout our process. So, can you get away with eating the wrong food? Yeah, you can. If you've got some really powerful kriyas, yeah, you can. But at some point, there's going to come a point where the tiredness is too much in the system. And yeah, the practices will work to rebalance you, but you're just going to want to build energy at some point rather than just, make do and re-equalize the body. So at one point, it will be very relevant to begin taking on the right food, probably mainly pranic positive food, which tends to be raw fruit and veg, just as a mainstay. You can still do all the silly stuff that we love doing, there's no problem. It's just mainly good food. Whole food is probably what we're going to want more of. So there's 5 things that probably might be creating fatigue in the system. Spiritual awakening and fatigue tend to be linked, at least at the start, because it's so new. And because the mind responds with fear to it, because we're conditioned to be that way. And it's important that we break out of that, because fear isn't freedom. And we're here for freedom. So, lots of love. Namaste.